I'll be having two lawyers in the studio. One is in, the other will be joining us shortly. And I have Gary Nimako. Gary Nimako is here. Good morning to you, Gary.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Great. I'm good too.
It's a very wet,
yeah, very wet, very wet. I can imagine.
Try to navigate to get here. But,
yes, it is.
At least,
especially when you don't take care and you don't know how to use the road very well. You could see that the friction will be a lot more higher. Exactly. All right, then we'll be joined by Victor Kojogan Dawudu. He's also a legal practitioner, so we'll have great discussion on the subject. But there are many issues on the front burner. All right, but let's speak on the subject of the Electoral Commission. But before then, let's look at the Special Prosecutor's Bill. And we're told that the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs of Parliament says it doesn't need an urgent treatment. It's not a bill that has to be looked at urgently.
Well, let me say good morning to you. Good morning to our cherished viewers this morning. I think that looking at the bill, I have read the bill, I think about 2 times, 3 times. And you realize that it's a very comprehensive bill, which is targeted at trying to fight corruption. Corruption both in private places and corruption also in public places. That is a person holding public office who would, do certain things which will endanger public purse. The bill is to cure and ensure that these persons are brought to the book. And if for some reason they have amassed certain wealth which is outside the norm, those wealth will also be confiscated by the state. So you also look at the tenure of office of the head, and you also look at the mode of removal of the special prosecutor. You can see clearly that the removal even becomes so difficult that once the person is there, some independence is guaranteed. And if you look very clear in the bill, that the person is going to work without any interference by anybody or any quarter. So clearly, we can see that essentially the president is very clear in his mind, and we want to ensure that that office will do whatever it takes to ensure that public corruption, which we have all seen, is now a bane in our body politic. For some reason, we kept and we removed at a point in time. But when they say that indeed agency and therefore it should go in a normal procedure, I have a difficulty with that one, because we all realize that at least we all agree as a nation that corruption is something that we all disagree. We think that this is something that is creeping the system and is worrying our country. So why is it not urgent? I mean, why shouldn't it be treated as an urgent bill? Because if tomorrow the thing comes into effect and the body is set up, you see, it's difficult for them to start their work immediately. So I don't see why they want to drag their feet in this matter. I think that Parliament must do whatever it takes to ensure that this bill is treated with the agency that it deserves, so that whoever comes in and occupies the office, for some reason, we can now begin to gear towards an area or an arena where we can say that corruption will be a thing of the past in this country, because we have seen several sorts of monies, huge monies, being pilfered. Huge monies, public money, is going down the drain. All because people think that the public office is their personal office, and the procurement processes are all violated. All these matters will be gone into by the special prosecutor. You go into all public procurement violations. If you look at the mandate, I read a bill, and I think that it's a very comprehensive bill targeted to ensure that even individuals who are also caught up in the web of corruptible tendencies will be dealt with by the special prosecutor. And if you're also in government and you do anything which is untoward, the same web will apply to you. Now, this will also mean that the person is going to prosecute both in and out of government. You see, this is where the difference is coming. The idea of somebody doing witch hunting will not be there again. That the government took office, and that Attorney General is now pursuing people who are perceived to be political opponents, and then you are taking them to court. Say, well, you are doing political witch hunting. It will no longer be there. The person in independent office, they are going to prosecute people who are out of government, individuals who are not in government, but they have been engaged in corruption with government officials. People who are in government as we speak. And for some reason, if they also engage in some corruption, the man will come after you.
We understand the bill and what the content, as you say, I haven't read the bill, so I have to go look for it and read it. But I know that is it Article 88, 4, we know that the Attorney General is supposed to initiate such prosecutions, okay? But also can mandate, or any other prosecution has to come through the Attorney General. I'm just paraphrasing in a certain way. Does that in any way come into conflict when we come to the appointment of a special prosecution? Or where is the special prosecutor going to derive his powers from? Is it only from only from the law?
The powers of the special prosecutor, as you look at the bill, that's why they are trying to make it an act of parliament.
Yes.
You see, they want to make an act. There's a bill now. The bill will go to the procedures, and then the president will assent to it, and it becomes law. When it becomes law, then it becomes a binding force. Now, Article 88.4, which says that, well, the Attorney General has a mandate to initiate all criminal and civil proceedings and all that on behalf of the Republic, does not in any way dilute the power of the special prosecutor at all. Neither does it conflict with the power of the special prosecutor at all, in my view. Because if you look carefully at the way the bill has been drafted, you will realize that this office is being given special powers to limit itself to prosecute corruption-related offenses, procurement violations, all right? And then any other thing which they will also be allowed to do under the law or under the act that is setting them up. Now, it doesn't also mean that Attorney General cannot prosecute corruption cases. No. But we all know that since 1992 and then the 3, when this law came into effect, we have had some problems and some challenges with the operationalization of the Constitution in terms of these prosecutorial powers. And that is, there have been some semblance or some people realizing that Attorney General, a cabinet minister, is in cabinet with his colleague ministers. The colleague minister is accused of some corruption or some corruption-related offense. And then the question is, can you sit there and also look at the face of the man and take him to court? You see?
So it becomes...
let's not forget there's a human element there. The human element is so crucial. I mean, we are not living in an island. We are human beings. You understand? Now, the man, this office is not part of government. This office is not part of cabinet. This office is a separate office operating separately from government. All right? So if they investigate any matter and they think that there are matters touching and concerning some corruption, which even an individual is even concerned or even related, or is being complicit, or a government official, whether cabinet or not cabinet, and you are engaged in something, they can invite you for questioning, investigate the matter. If they think that there's some substance in cruising to court, they'll go to court and prosecute on their own.
Well, point well made there, and that is where we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll be inviting into the discussion Victor Kojoga Adaudu. He's also a legal practitioner. Please do stay on. We'll be right back. And we have Victor Adaudu. And sir, good morning. How are you?
It's a pleasure.
You have a case in court this morning, the way you're with...
Oh, that is my trade. I always
yes,
do.
Sure.
So
I love that. That's your trade.
I'm always in court.
The two of you.
Victor never came to court when they were in the government for 4 years. It was always at the seat of government running things. But now he joined us in court, so we welcome him back. Yes, welcome him back.
Is this national TV that he's talking about?
You know,
people who even those who have been
coming,
would say the contrary.
When he recorded power, he doesn't come to court.
When his party was in power, he wasn't. He was.
Now he has joined us, so now I welcome him back.
Anyway, but we're discussing the subject of the special prosecutors bill now before Parliament, and I don't know, as a legal person, do you have any perhaps anything you want to raise about, particularly on the bill? Because, for example, We're told that the head of the committee that's looking at it, the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs of Parliament, and it says, that's Ben Abdullah, it says, going through the memorandum and the body of the bill itself, we realize that the bill carries a lot of weighty issues that need to be discussed thoroughly and therefore need a broader stakeholder consultation. And this cannot be done within a short period of time. And that is why our preamble says Special Prosecutor's Bill doesn't need urgent treatment. We're told by the committee. It means that it doesn't need to be rushed. Why do you think that your colleague lawyers will be having, or members of parliament will be having such mindset about the bill?
Thank you, Roland. I believe that it was in the right direction, looking at the whole bill and the matters that arises out of the bill and the memorandum that is attached. Now, this is an office which is being created to have an independent tenure of office. This is an office that is being created that he becomes untouchable, advisedly untouchable in the sense that when he's doing his work, nobody can interfere with his work. There are a lot of issues that had to be discussed with it, especially when Article 88 within the Constitution grants the power of prosecution, initiating everything into the hands of the Attorney General. How is this bill being couched so that it does not become inconsistent or in contravention of Article 88? That is a major, major issue. One school of thought thinks that the only way it can be done would be that we have to amend the clause 88. I was looking at it, I guess it is an entrenched clause. When we say entrenched clause, it means that the process by which you go to amend it, you go through referendum, it's a laborious one. So that is why this bill must be looked at carefully so that it doesn't conflict or come into contravention with the Constitution. If not, any matter that is, or the law, when it becomes inconsistent with the constitutional provisions, will be a matter that would be ripe for court, for it to be tested against the provisions of the court. So I think that we need to look at it dispassionately, frankly, and look at the bill. I have my own reservation also about this bill. In as much as we think that this bill will be a panacea to cases of corruption, I don't think so. We already have some institutions that will have to deal with corruption. We have SHRAD, we have the BNI, we have IOCO. I was actually thinking that if you strengthen other institutions and give them that independence.
How?
IOCO has mandate to go into public issues where there's an interest of public interest in a matter. They have the hand to extend into that. Even they have mandate when it comes to tax issues, fraud and others. IOCO has hand. However, the act for IOCO even says that they can only prosecute based on the advice of the Attorney General. So if you think that you want to make it independent, you should have strengthened some of this. I'd say that yes, it is good. We want to do this. But how do we craft this law so that it does not come into conflict with the Constitution?
With the existing...
Yes. So that it does not become like an institution that is being created, and after experimenting it for some time, I've attended some seminars and other things on this special prosecutor. You know, I hope and I pray it won't get there. You see, I'll mention the country, I'll mention the name. It has also happened in other jurisdictions. So the special prosecutor is being given juicy terms and conditions. Then his success rates as to prosecution and others have to be found. Now, what actually happened was that the judiciary or the judges, where they will send the case, said, we determine this matter, the success of the person, and his terms of condition were so high. So they started to frustrate the process. That you go, he doesn't get. At the end of the day, it's also in that provision that you determine his success of rate. If he doesn't perform, then you can't relieve him of his post. So it is a matter that you need to look at his tenure of office, look at his success rate. How do you determine his success rate? What would be the impediment on the way? How do you collaborate with the other institution, coordinate, so that it does not become disjuncted, where one institution within the same that we are working, the same profession qualification, one will be taking higher remuneration, very juicy. The other one thinks that we also have a hand in determining your success, and it's frustrated. So we need to look at that. That's why I believe that they said it's weightier matter. We need to think through all this.
Now, I know you want to respond to.
Yes,
okay.
From few reactions to what my brother has.
You say you have read the bill.
I have read the bill.
Okay.
So let me just some few issues that he raised. They are germane issues, but let me just address them. On the issue of remuneration, you realize.
I think he's only mentioned remuneration as one part of the things that need to be looked at.
Let me respond to all the things that he said.
Yes, please.
The remuneration. The special prosecutor is equated to, his conditions of service is equated to Court of Appeal judge. Now the deputy is High Court. So that's very clear. Now, two, on the issue as to whether or not there will be a conflict at Article 84 vis-a-vis the work of the prosecutor. Clearly, you don't see that. You don't see the conflict, because you see a clear attempt to make this office an independent office to prosecute on its own without a direction or control of the Attorney General. However, you realize that in the same bill, all right, the person is supposed to report in terms of the case that they are working on, report to the Attorney General. You see it in the bill. Report on the work done, submit a report on the work done to the Attorney General. You get what? So you cannot say that. It goes to Parliament. You cannot say that. You cannot say that. Well, you know,
rephrase that. The special prosecutor is supposed to,
in terms of the work that they are doing, they are supposed to put up a report of that work.
You mean the committee?
Exactly.
The parliamentary committee?
No. When the committee comes, when the office takes effect, and they do prosecutions, you know, they must put a report on the work that they are doing, and report on that work.
For what?
To the attorney. Yeah, because somebody must know what you are doing. You are not just there for fun making. You are there to work.
So why not submit to, let's say, the CJ or somebody else?
No. The CJ is a judiciary. You see, let's distinguish. We have the judiciary.
Well, I do understand.
It's different. Executive, different. And then you see, our work is we work with them, yes, but their work is not the same as what we are doing. Okay. You understand? And then on the issue of the mandate, I've already stated here that you realize that Yoko, yes, they look into matters affecting, anything the public has interest in it. But there's an extension in this particular bill, which makes the power of this prosecutor
sacrosanct
to go beyond the public officials to even private people or individuals whose acts are also more or less corruptible. So assuming I'm sitting here on my mind, my own business, but I engage in some work with a public official, all right, and then that officer is being charged with corruption, and they realize that, look, you got it too, you are part of the whole thing, so you can also be, yes, exactly, you can also bring you in and charge you accordingly. So, and then the term of office too, as we realize, is somewhere, guaranteed. Even the removal procedures are not easy. You cannot easily remove the special prosecutor. It appears that it goes also with Article 146 of the Constitution, whether you have a problem with the person or you think they have done anything wrong, misconduct or misbehavior, whatever, you send a petition to the president, to the you see, and refer to the CJ and all these things. You see, just to ensure
the normal practice.
At the end of the day, you cannot just get up and, for any flimsy excuse, seek to remove the person. Because let's not forget, when you take such an office, you see, you are going to have enemies even within your own people. Because the man is not going to prosecute just
well, listen,
past
why are
governments.
we going to take somebody within our ranks? I thought, whose people?
Say it again.
Why are you going to take? Why are you going to take somebody within your ranks?
No. You are not getting my point. The point
The people you are referring to are who?
The point I'm making.
You said the person is going to have. The person is going to have enemies within his own people.
Within his own people.
So who are the people?
You see, let me.
Is it the political elite?
Wait a minute. Listen. The point I'm making is that.
Yes, sir.
There is a certain mindset over there that when this office comes to fruition, the focus will be on prosecuting people who are in the past government. There is that thinking going on. But I'm saying that the mandate of the office is not to prosecute people who are past government. Also people who are also in government now, who are engaged in corruption or who perceive corruption or some procurement irregularities. So if you are thinking that, when the man assumes office, he's going to focus on past government, you are making a mistake. Because the people who are also in government now are also subject to investigation if for some reason their acts are also, for some reason, in violation of the Procurement Act, or some corruption is also, unearthed. So that's what I'm saying. We are going to have even enemies within your own. So you don't assume that when a man takes office, he's going to focus on past government. So let us always tread cautiously. But at the end of the day, I don't think that my brother sitting here will sit down and then wish something bad for the nation. I don't think so.
When you read the bill, how was the special prosecutor appointed?
It's appointed by the president. And he can cede that power to the Attorney General. You understand? And it goes through a process. So
just like the way we have for CJ.
Exactly. But even CJ is appointed by the president, but it doesn't mean that when the president appoints you, the CJ will be subject to the whims and caprices of the president. No, it doesn't work like that.
Let's say the Electoral Commission.
Exactly, it doesn't work like that.
Chairperson.
You see, so that you realize that if you look at the act carefully, you see some infusion of the Yoko Act as part of this particular act. Taxes and all these things are also all infused over there.
Okay. That's okay.
So even seizing properties, freezing people's properties are all infused over here.
Aren't we creating analogous institutions? So because it's like we have various institutions, SHRAJ, Yoko. Even we have, which one is the FIC? Is there an FIC?
No, we have the Financial Intelligence Center.
Okay. And so we have closed those institutions. Yes, and then we have a full closed institution that's going to come in force. So what happens to those institutions?
We have a problem of coordination and collaboration where these institutions will be fighting for their turfs.
I don't think so.
You can ask people who have been in government with this institution that there's a turf war between all the institutions.
You mean
when it comes
a salient test?
I'm telling you, within financial intelligence, IOCO, because IOCO and financial intelligence all deal with money laundering. So which institution takes, and this institution say you need to report to me. It is even to collaborate when the matter comes. So BNI takes also on some matter, SHRAJ. So we have that problem. We need to look at how the inter-agencies coordination, it's one of the problems that we need to look through. I am only saying, he says that he's been given extensive powers. And I'm saying that, yes, if there's extensive powers, let's create an institution that even if we have to make all this, that will make it a solid institution, that the objective and the mandate why we are looking at it would be achieved. The flip side of it is that we are rendering, the Attorney General's office is an office that any person who takes that office is deemed to be a person of integrity, is deemed to be a person of strong character, because the job that has been given to you as an Attorney General, if you want to do it and achieve it, you don't have to think about whose horse will be God. We are giving the excuse, that's how I see it, a flimsy excuse that you have a job to do, but because my colleagues, my friends, something has gone wrong, I won't be able to tell them in the face that this is wrong. If you cross this line, this is where you'll be prosecuted.
And that excuse is
so
genuine.
we are giving that excuse for that.
But Victor, that excuse is genuine.
No.
Without due respect.
When
And we have,
yes, it
we
is
have
a legitimate
instances
point.
or precedents to...
You see, I had that on even on Joy
Newsfile.
When Honorable Obi Amwa said that, looking at it through when Honorable Martin Amidu was relieved of his post, it was because he wanted to prosecute corruption.
You deny that?
I deny that. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. He was relieved of his post because when he was invited by the late President Mills, let his soul rest in peace. Today is his 5 years. He left us. When he was invited to the office and he was being asked some questions, he walked out of the office of the president, banged the door, and he was relieved for insubordination.
But related.
No.
But
He was
relatedly.
relieved for insubordination because
But
everybody
relatedly.
was surprised.
But relatedly. He may have been relieved of insubordination, but that's the reason why he was relieved.
Yes,
But,
so it is not because
but
he
it
wants
was
to.
premised, his insubordination was premised on the fact that he was prying into and raising questions into issues that made people uncomfortable.
No.
Right.
You see,
we're just showing you pictures from, I think, a short ceremony to mark, or the event site, to mark the 5th anniversary of the demise of the late President of the Republic of Ghana, Professor Evans Atta Mills. I remember that day I had to be whisked away somewhere and be on air, clad in black. I hadn't been in full black shirts before on air, so we'll bring you vivid pictures, and when the activity is ongoing, we'll bring you. Our cameras are there capturing the event live. But and so we're talking.
You see, just to on this one, I heard the brother of the president making some comments.
Which of them?
Somewhere. The honorable member of parliament for KE, as to how the whole place has been left to deteriorate, and others and the people. I was so sad.
Why
it happened?
You mean it's been left 6 months on, or when the NDC
I don't think,
or when the NDC was on, they were not taking care of the place themselves.
I think that if really the statement he's made on the floor is true, all of us should bow our heads in shame.
I think that you should blame the John Mahama-led government more. Because I'm not sure the place could have deteriorated in the last 6 months.
Yes, no, I don't think so. And I'm saying that people who were in the helm of affairs, who should have made sure that this place has been kept, the sanctity and the beauty of the place is kept, and has been left this way. Only when it is about his anniversary celebration and we go there and, some crocodile tears and others, our doings, our actions should speak more than what we go and we pretend to be doing.
Very well.
Yes.
Very well. So now, the main question that sometimes that keeps coming up, and over the last week, it's been coming up about this special prosecutor and the role that it's going to play. If we need to have consistent and effective collaborations with quasi or allied institutions that will make the work of the office prosecutor effective, how do we align that sort of relationship? Because the office prosecutor would need some sort of assistance if it says it has had hints or unearthed some sort of corruption in public office. And then the machinery of government with the various institutions in there will become uncooperative. So how do we align those relationships? I start with you.
Now, you see, if you look at the bill, you realize that the membership of the board itself. You see, there are other institutions all part of it. One of them is, I think, a chartered accountant. You have lawyers who are there. You have some professionals. Now, you see, once you are indicted to have done something untoward in violation of the law, you have no choice but to submit yourself to investigation. You have no choice. Because if, for instance, let's say you are a chief director, or you are a minister, or former minister, or whatever, all right, and they have evidence to show, or they have some information to suggest that something has gone wrong, you'll be invited. If you say you won't talk, that's another matter. But if they have enough evidence to show that you are involved in that offense, they can bring it to court, prove that case before the court, beyond what you call the criminal standard, that's beyond reasonable doubt. And if the court of law finds that, look, prima facie, something has gone untoward, and you say you will not respond at that time, a ruling will be made against you on that issue. So I don't have a problem at all. The bottom line is that, as it stands, let's get cooperation from our brothers on the other side and push the bill through. You see, you should push the bill through. I mean, if you have nothing to hide, if you don't think that there's, you can scrutinize the bill. I'm not saying that you should just rush the bill in a manner as if the bill is sacrosanct. No. They should scrutinize the bill, look at the bill and the intention of the bill. If you look at what the way the draft man did it, and see how this bill will help save the public purse. That, to me, is an issue. How would the bill help the public purse and sanitize our system to the extent that when people now see public office as a way to enrich themselves, that idea will fizzle out. Because, see, we have lived in this country where people think that the easiest route to make money is to try and rush into public office. And that idea ought to be fizzled out, so that you come to public service with one notion, to come and serve your people. You come and serve. If you are not willing to serve, then so bad. So bad. That is all. So I mean, let my brother, and treat his people to look at the bill, look at the nitty-gritty of the bill. If at the end of the day they think there should be additions and subtractions to ensure that the intention of the draftman is achieved, and all of us as a nation, we can now begin to say, look, now the way forward is that we want corruption to be minimized. Corruption to be uprooted will be a very difficult thing, but to be minimized to the barest minimum, so that at the end of the day, public money can be saved and our roads can be fixed up. I mean, a lot of things can be done with the money that is being going to public pockets. You look at the roads that we drive on, and the accident that is happening, most of them because somebody's personal benefit is overriding the national interest, and that is a major problem. And that's why the president said that whatever he will do to ensure that the public purse is protected, he will do it. And one of them is bringing in this bill.
Very well.
So please help us to all help the nation, so that at the end of the day, the Ghanaian taxpayer who is paying money, his money will land in the right place, but not in somebody's private pocket. That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line.
How do we align the institution, the relationships, so that, just like you cited, you're saying in one or two other jurisdictions for which you have some knowledge of, there have been some impediments or hurdles put in the way of the officers or the office?
Yes, I think that the office being set, it should be well thought through. We should not rush, as they have said, just because it's a promise that was made that we want to see this office in operation. Let's think through it very well. Let's look at the other institutions. What have been their failures that we put up to fight corruption? If we see the challenges, the failures, and factor it into this bill and put all this, it will bring about the coordination and make sure that we get the heads of those institutions. Because I believe that any head of any organization determines how the organization will go. 50%. The attributes, the charisma, the aggression, and the things of the leader of that institution, 50% will determine how they will go. With the teamwork, will tell you how they will go. So we have those institutions. Let's look at what were the success of it. Maybe let's take Yoko, put it down. Let's put Shraj. Let's put... My other issue with this, is it the police who is going to investigate, or they are going to have their own investigators?
Yeah, they have their own investigators. Yes.
Now, will they have those...
They have police beyond the...
police powers?
No, they have a police representation on the board, beyond ACP, who will be on the board.
Yes, in Yoko, we still have that, yes. in Yoko. But you see, you can have this institution.
So you're saying it's not new?
Yeah, it's not. Even with the Attorney General, right? The Commissioner of Police in charge of investigation reports to the Attorney General. Although that they are on the same police council, you have a direct contact with you can ask for. So I'm saying, let's look at it. And let me tell you that the minority is not against. All the minorities, let's look at it, go through it well. Prosecution is an arduous task. Okay. You have to go beyond.
But today newspaper is saying that they've come across a list that has penciled some former ministers and officials of the NDC in the previous who could be in the first line of fire. You know, but we'll see how that goes. We'll go live to the Asumdwe. Don't comment on this. We'll go live to the Asumdwe Park, where a ceremony to mark the 5 years anniversary of the demise or death of former President Professor John Evans Fifi Mills is underway. And Beatrice, good morning to you. You're there. Who are you speaking to currently?
Hello. And you're aware that today is exactly 5 years since the former President John Evans Mills passed, 24th of July, 5 years ago. It was such a traumatic experience for a lot of Ghanaians. The news broke in the afternoon, and today some NDC executives are marking the 5th anniversary of his marking currently at the Asumdwe Park. And right behind me, you can see the tomb where the former president was laid, and that's where he's resting. A number of dignitaries have already come here to mark this solemn moment. I have here with me the former High Commissioner to the UK, Ambassador Victor Smith. He's one of those who have come here to mark this solemn moment. He's here with us. He joins us live now. Hello, sir. Good morning and welcome to Joy News.
Good morning very much. Good morning to your viewers and listeners at the same time. Today is a very sad day for me in the sense that I remember what happened 5 years ago. At that time, I was the Eastern Regional Minister. I was having a program in Koforidua. We'd just broken off for lunch when I had a phone call. Somebody was saying the president had died, and I was like, is that a joke? So I went off the phone and called the secretary to the president, and he was weeping, and I knew it had happened. So I drove straight from Koforidua to the castle, then the seat of government, and other senior people were weeping, very sad that the president should die while he's on the throne as the head of state. So that's what happened 5 years ago, and 5 years on, his spirit still lives with us. He was such a noble and visionary leader, selfless, committed to seeing to the betterment of this country. He went on after the Better Ghana agenda, but as fate would have it, he didn't finish his first term and he passed on to glory.
And you were just talking about how you were just about having your lunch and then you had that news. When you finally confirmed through the phone calls you had, what went through your mind instantly?
Well, I knew the president wasn't too well, but I still thought he would see through his first term at least. This was in July, and 2012, he was going to go for elections in December. I was sad because I knew he meant so well for Ghana. I've spent time and time before he came into office as president with him alone, talking about his vision, determination. And he cared so much, and he used to say something, I care for you. He meant it. He was a father of this nation who cared not for himself, but for the people. The God knows best, so he took him away from us. What went through my mind was all the things we talked about at the time, what he wanted to do for this country, and he wasn't able to do it. When I got to Accra, of course, everybody was wailing everywhere, so it couldn't make sense, and we had to prepare to swear in the vice president as president immediately. So there was a lot of activity to and fro, and then we went to Parliament that evening and swore in the vice president as president. But as time went on, reflecting, I thought he should have lived longer to have done some of the great things that he had in mind, because I knew he was so selfless. Everybody knew that he was a very genuine father. That's what I remember.
You were saying that you think he should have lived longer. You think there was something that could have been done to make him live longer than he did?
No, he was unwell. I knew he was unwell. So I remember his last medical travel to the United States. When he returned and I saw him on TV, I was not very happy the way I saw him. He looked ill. So I got a call from him one day whilst I was on a program in the Eastern region that I should meet him on the highway, the Nsawam-Kumasi highway, because it was under construction. He wanted to come and inspect something there. So I suspended my program and zipped down to where we were supposed to meet. When I saw him in this car, I told the president, "Why are you here? Why don't you go and rest? You don't look well." He said, "Oh, I'm okay." I said, "You don't. I know you so well." I was very sad. I mean, that was the only time I wept so much when he died. And a week later, we were commemorating a week, what is called 1 week or something. Yeah, they usually say 1 week. And we went to Koforidua, we were having it. Every region was supposed to do it. That's when I publicly wept. Because I knew so much about this man. Not everything we can put out.
So you were just listening to Ambassador Victor Smith. We will continue with the conversation very shortly, but you're still live here on Joy News. A lot of things are going to happen today. Like I said earlier, a number of dignitaries have arrived at this particular venue for this solemn 5 years anniversary. Fritz Bafo is here, former member of parliament. We also have here the aide of the former president, Kokwan Yidoho. He's also here. We'll try and interact with them. So stay glued to your TV set here on Joy News and we'll bring you more. My name is Beatrice Edu.
Well, thank you very much, Beatrice Edu, and great discussion there. And we hope that we can get a lot more from the Asumdwe Park as we've come to know it. And we know that is the 5th anniversary of the demise or the death of the late president of the Republic of Ghana, Professor John Evans Fifi Atta-Mills. Sad day it was, I remember vividly that day. But let's move on to the next subject. It's also become very topical before the close of the last week, and now getting onto the main weekend. We had apparently a 27-pointer response from the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana. And Mrs. Charlotte Osei, through her lawyers, has been responding vividly to allegations by, is it concerned workers of the Electoral Commission through their lawyer about perceived high-handedness and also dereliction of duty, abuse of office, etc. I have to first start with you, Gary Nyamakun. What do you make of this whole brouhaha in the first place?
You see, Roland, Electoral Commission matters are rising. First of all, let me state, without any fear of contradiction, that the party, MPP party, has not made any position in respect of supporting anybody to remove the EC chair. As a matter of fact, the party has not come out to support any individual or group of workers in their quest to present a petition to the president to be dealt with. And therefore, I was extremely surprised to hear my brothers on the other side, through their minority leader, stating that they hold a view that it was the party or some elements in the party that were supporting, whether impliedly or expressly, to have the EC chair ousted from office. So that is the baseline which should center our discussions on. Very, very clear. Very, very clear.
The political angle.
Now, I thought that petition contents in respect of removals are supposed to be held in camera, and that the contents should not be published to the media. That's what I thought, and that's what I thought the position of the law was. If you look at J. Chum and the others. And therefore, I was a bit surprised to hear the contents of a petition which has been given to the assistant of the president, being leaked to media and all that. I was a bit surprised. But that notwithstanding, I think these days with our modern technology and how people intercept news and all that, you know, you realize that you have a petition, you have some confidential matter. For some reason which you may not know, the contents therein are leaked. And then people are now discussing what is supposed to be confidential in a public space. Now, what I know is that when the petition is submitted to the president, well, he has a little discretion. The way the procedure has been set down by law, he only has to refer to the leadership, the Chief Justice, for a determination of what we call a prima facie case. That is on the face of the petition that has been given for the removal of such a person or as of high repute, like the EC chair. These allegations, is there a prima facie case? Is there anything at all for me to consider, even to go to the second stage? If at that stage the CJ realize that the contents therein are unmeritorious and all these things, they can say, well, the contents are unmeritorious, and therefore I will not proceed to the next stage. It is only when the prima facie is determined that the next stage, that is from the committee of 5 people who will come in to now to look into it, and then you are invited to come and then also give a formal response. But we are now informed that even before this will go through, the AC chair is already giving response to the media and giving response to allegations, and even now counter alleging other matters, i.e. also alleging that the deputies, the 2 of them, are also engaged in some fraudulent transactions, procurement irregularities and breaches, receiving monies to the tune of, what is the figure they mentioned? 6 million or whatever.
6 million.
6 million Ghana cedis from political parties to run primaries for them. And that one of them also is alleging all these allegations about 40 million contracts without procurement, you know, procedures and all these things. I think that if these are happenings in the EC, it means the center cannot hold. If you look at the happenings of the EC, the center cannot hold.
So the center has to be removed?
The center cannot hold. That is the way I see it.
So the center has to be removed?
I don't have the power to remove anybody in this country. You see, if I have the power to remove people in this country, I think that I will have exercised those powers in a way, in accordance with law. I don't have any power. We are only discussing the matters arising as a result of the petition and counter-petition. Don't forget that it started with a petition by the EC chair to Yoko to have the deputy, you know, to step aside for some investigation to be gone in. And then we also heard her lawyers also writing to Yoko saying that, look, the manner with which you are proceeding to do your work is unconstitutional and that we are going to resist it.
So you're saying she opened the Pandora's box?
That is so. You see, and clearly, if you look at the trajectory of events, you can see that they have been sitting on a time bomb. You can see the way matters are now coming out now. You can see clearly that the matters are really happening at the EC, and they were sitting on a time bomb, and it is proper that it has come out now.
Time bomb?
Yes, because allegations, counter allegations. That is the reason why I thought that the NDC really rushed when they came out to say that some political elements in the MPP are behind this thing. If you look at the response that she is giving herself, it tells you that they are sitting or they were on a time bomb at the EC themselves.
Time bomb?
Exactly. If you look at the events happening now, clearly. You see, I look at some of all these things, but my difficulty, personal difficulty, with the EC chair in events prior to the election 2016, up to the time of declaration, I had a great difficulty with her. And I made this point very clear on all public platforms that I was. One of them was her own personal pronouncements. That's one of them. The second thing was that her own posturing. The third thing was her conduct that led to the disqualification of Dr. Indum and the others. And then when she was questioned that he did not give Dr. Indum and the others a hearing prior to the disqualification, she said, I have given them a hearing after disqualifying them. And I had a view that, look, cannot give a man hearing after disqualifying the man, because the law requires that hearing must be given. It's a fundamental principle of law that if you don't give a man hearing and you are exercising public functions, whatever you are doing will be a nullity, despite the merits of whatever you are doing. We held this view, went to court on the matter. The High Court upheld our submission. All right? It took it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court threw them away. And it tells you that if you are exercising public functions in a public office, your conduct must be in accordance with due process of law. You can't do things capriciously and expect that you can proceed. You can't. Public office is not a personal office.
It won't work.
So this is that are coming out now. I'm telling you.
You think they're coming out at the right time?
It is good.
Okay.
That they are coming out now. Now, whether a petition succeeds or otherwise, because I have heard some comments, people are saying that the petition is by faceless individuals and that they didn't disclose the names of their names and all that.
What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'm going to address that point. You see, lawyers, by our ethics and how we operate, no lawyer worth his salt will write a letter to no meaner person than the president, claiming to be acting for a group of persons, and those persons do not exist. No lawyer will do that. No lawyer worth his salt, and especially the lawyer in the caliber of Masopoko Ajima will not write to the president and say, I'm acting for concerned EC workers, and that these concerned persons do not exist. Because, you see, you cannot act for people who do not exist. You can't act for dead persons. You act for people who have come to consult you, and then based on their instructions, you are writing to on their behalf. So if, for instance, you are not asking to disclose the names, and you're unable to disclose the names, then you can have, hey, well, that's all. Can you know the people that you are acting for? Mm-hmm. So I have been following this matter, but I said, I have a personal view on the matter. My personal view is not a party view. My personal view is not a government view. My personal view. But I think that there is no official position of the party to endorse anybody to proceed to go and have the EC chair removed. That is not the position of the party.
Senator Daudu?
Yes, let me just pick up from where he left.
Because I saw you're nodding in affirmation to many of his responses.
Oh, yes, I was listening to the first one where the minority leader made a pronouncement that if he believes that it is politically motivated and it's being orchestrated so that they will remove her. And he says that anything like that will be resisted. I believe this is, I'm paraphrasing what he said. This is the understanding of what he said. Now, let us not forget also that the minority leader is a rallying point when it comes to issues from the party, from society, parliament. He is the leader of the minority, and he hears a lot of things that goes on. So I'm not privy to what he has heard, what he's been told, and I believe that he was making a point that if things that he has heard, he might be privy to, is being politically motivated, it will be resisted. Now, two, you see, it's a legal process. And so far as the legal process, it kickstarts, nobody can stop it. The only person, the safety net in there, is the Chief Justice and the committee. Now, the Chief Justice is the one who can determine and say that this thing is frivolous, is vexatious, I'm not even going to look at it. Don't also forget that within the law, the Chief Justice cannot even delegate that power. to any person. The power is given to her. Even if the Chief Justice is compromised, who will look on the face of it and says that, yes, the committee, I'm setting up the committee. I believed that the 3 Superior Court judges that will find themselves on the committee, they are people with some integrity, modicum of integrity. Now, the process is also being insulated from the politician. That is why you don't have members of Council of State on that committee. No member of Parliament will be on that committee, because we are looking at it that you know, apart from the judges, you don't even have lawyers. Then that is when you are given the opportunity to respond. So it is after the response, if they feel it doesn't merit it, they make recommendation to the president. And you see, don't forget also that whilst the committee is being set, the president, with Article 1, can suspend the person. In this, as much as letting the person step aside, and the same president can even revoke the suspension. That is when they finish and he finds that there is nothing on that matter. Now, looking at this, all the brouhaha surrounding this, petition has been in public domain, responses has been, when you watch, it gears towards issues of corruption that has to be investigated. It has nothing to do with the process, maybe impeachment. So I think that the best is that I hear Parliament has called them to make up the and audit service, which audits their account. Audit is supposed to audit their account, should also be getting involved and find out what it is. But all these processes that is going on, I think if it goes to court, the confidentiality that the process has, I think all of them have breached it. And the court should set it clear and say that this is how we want it to be.
Well, the lawyers have spoken. I'm not saying they are the judges, though. So we have to go to Beatrice Edu, and Beatrice Edu is at the Asumdwe Park, where we have the 5th anniversary being marked for President John Evans Atta Mills, and we know that 5 years ago he passed on, and that event has since been marked each year, and today the country continues to mark that. I'm sure, well, we'll have a lot to talk about the former president. And Beatrice Edu is currently interacting. We go back to Beatrice Edu. Good morning to you. And first you were interacting with Victor Smith. Now, who are you interacting with next, Beatrice? All right. Okay, so we're bringing to you live pictures from the Asumdwe Park. It's where we know that the body of the former president of the Republic of Ghana is. But as far as we're concerned, it means that let me still be with you. It means that the response and the counter response, or the accusation and the counter response, is not ethical, is not.
The response, all that in the media, if you look at 146, the process, it has to be in camera. Okay. You see, the mere fact that they say it's in camera.
So what's happening is inappropriate?
For me, I believe it's inappropriate. Both the petitioners and the respondent, what is being in the, it is. Because it is not about the personalities. It's about the office.
What if these are leaks?
Yes, fine.
If they are leaks, we can't say they are leaks. No. So both sides they are leaks.
So they are thrown at us to discuss it.
If they are leaks, listen. I believe that the court, when this matter one day finds itself in the Supreme Court, the court should be able to make it clear that, look, there was a reason why they said it should be in camera. Yeah. There's the confidentiality to it. So any process that starts this way, there should be some punishment. You know, if you look at justice, there is matter.
Let me not even catch you. What if it turns out that allegations are all unfounded allegations and they are all false? It means you have embarrassed a person.
Yes. And that is why.
But it first started with,
that is why.
If you see, first started with the
that is why.
With the petitioner.
Yeah, that is the point. That is why it should be in confidence, in camera. Everything should, so that if they determine the processes and then it turns out that there's no merit, the sanctity of that office is still kept intact.
That is why, if you look at Justice Derry's matter, where it was published by the Chief Justice, the content, when they went to Supreme Court, they won. And they said that it was unconstitutional for them to publish it. However, there's no sanction by our laws. However, if you go to the other jurisdiction, common jurisdiction, it's like an injunction. The moment the process starts, there's an injunction that nobody should put in there. So it's a contempt of court. That's what the court said. That by putting all this in the public, it's contempt of court. The other avenue you can have is to sue for damages for defamatory. That these things are defamatory about each other. But we don't have that law that when you breach the Constitution, you should be punished. You see, the court should. So Justice Derry wanted that because it was in the public domain, it should be declared null and void. But the court said no. The fact that it's been there does not stop the process. So if the process will have to go on, it must go on. In as much as we agree that it was unconstitutional. So if we are seeing these things happening, then there should be a problem. Also, I'm not naive. Don't forget that if somebody, we know that there's a process, all these people that will have to go through that process, and we make an allegation, we put it in the paper just to frustrate the process. So it goes and they say, look, this is useless because of this process. You know, it is double-edged sword. People can do it to malign you. Somebody can also orchestrate it itself. And you see, it makes the position and the offices become very vulnerable. Because it is only says a person makes a petition. And when I make a petition and the Chief Justice decides that there's a prima facie, the process starts.
Gary.
You see.
Well, so we have to wrap up on this discussion, and as we go for a break, is there in any way that the reputation of the Electoral Commission, the reputation of the chairperson and the deputies, and even the management staff of the Electoral Commission is being perhaps punctured in any way, or is being maligned in any way, and so that could have a referral influence on the reputation by Ghanaians, the international community, and even the objective for which the Electoral Commission was set?
Yeah, there is. If you even listen to the responses by the lawyers and even their demand that if the petitioner do not give them the names, or the lawyer doesn't give the names of the alleged petitioners, they will proceed to court with a defamatory action against the lawyer himself. It means they themselves acknowledge the fact that the allegations put out over there are not, you know, they are not things that you can just throw them over the board. Yes, because these are serious allegations. They are very serious allegations, and therefore, I hold a view that it is better that these matters will have been kept under the cloak in the interim to be investigated first, and then when it comes out that in fact it has any merit or otherwise, and there's a determination, you know, so to speak, we can now make some progress with it. But the way it's being thrown out there, now they threw it in, EC2, they also responded, also throwing it in. You know, I find it very uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, some reputational, you know, defect will be suffered by either the chair herself or the deputies themselves, and I don't think it's good for democracy, because the Electoral Commission is a center around which our elections revolve. And we can't play with that at all.
On Friday, we spoke to, is it Professor, the former moderator of the Methodist Church? The one who has the Peace Council? No, that's President.
Oh, Asante, all right.
And he said something needs to be done on the back door to make sure that this doesn't go.
Right.
Why is that important?
I think I agree with him, because what is happening would definitely have an impact on the independence of Electoral Commission. And if they lose the credibility and the trust, it affects the whole institution and even our international image, that this is an institution that has been hailed by everybody, that elections conducted in Ghana are clean, they are credible, and we are finding this within the people who are the center, who controls the electoral machinery, and all political activities when it comes to election revolves around them, where it's being said that some even take money to organize primaries, which go into, these things. It's the reputational risk. It's not only about the people, it's about the institution itself. And that would also affect our democratic credence as a nation.
As to whether we are,
yes, because
really
as whether
authentic
people over there are not being influenced. If it comes out truly that some people can be influenced, it tells you that anybody there hasn't got that independence it can be. Also, I don't think that we should have this. But coming to the Christian Council and Peace Council, listen, because of the independence, the image of the Electoral Commission, there can be some backroom negotiations and talk. And let's see, if it is criminal and it is fraud, let the law deal with that. But not just be saying we are saying because we don't want the independence, the reputational risk. So if it is a crime, we cover it up. No, that's not a suggestion. But what we will lose as a nation is and to protect the office. That is what I believe that is being called for.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I've enjoyed the discussion so far. Gary Nimakon, legal practitioner, thanks for joining me. Another legal practitioner, Victor Adawudu, and Victor Kojoga Adawudu is also heading to the court right now. Both of you are actually. You are kissing Kate?
Yes, I do, yes. 9 o'clock, so you guys have kept me here.
Yes,
quite a while.
True. Sorry. But, I mean, your party's in government, so you use motorcade.
Oh, is that so?